Okay. And then let me share my screen. Okay, so as promised, today we are doing measurement questions that came straight out of DBE papers. So this one was from November 2018. So this is what I mean. They can ask you these types of questions, but they don't necessarily do measurement in grade 11 because it's assumed knowledge. Now, as soon as you have anything that's slightly harder than a prism, they always will give you the formula. So like here, you'll see they've given you the volume of a cone, and then they've given you the total surface area of a cone. We just need to be able to understand how to work those. So we need to know that the R is the radius, and we need to know that the H is the height, for example. And in a cone, a slant height is the line over there. Generally in a cone, I want your brains to think about Pythagoras. Not all the time, but for a large part, you're going to have to think about Pythagoras. Because they like to take this triangle out and make you work things out that way. It's just something that they like to do when it comes to a cone. But let me not go too far ahead. Let's start from the beginning. The diagram below shows a cone with a perpendicular height of h centimeters, we know that that's our height, and a radius of r centimeters, and a slant height of 13 centimeters. And they've asked you to show that the volume of the cone is given by. Now, when they say show, it means we can't use this. We can only look at it to check. Okay, so your goal is to try and find the volume of this cone, but you don't need to work it out using your calculator because you're going to land up having pi's and you're going to have h's. So you're going to have pi's and you're going to have h's. You're not going to have to know what this one is, and you're going to have a pi. So let me give you some time to see if you can try and figure that one out, and then we can work through it together. You've done it before? That's great. Let's see if you remember what to do. You forgot? Oh no. Give you some time to try and figure it out first. So give it your best go. Don't work it out as a whole number because remember you've got h and you've got pi in there. Let's see if people agree with you, Abu. You don't know if you agree with yourself. Fair. That's fair. A helping hand on the board. Take my little helping hand that I drew just now. That's my helping hand. Let's see if we can get all 7 marks for this question. You forgot to write a 5. All right, I'm going to give you guys 3 more minutes on this one. Let me know if you need more time, or let me know when you've got an answer, and then we can go through this one together. Well, it's not that it's hectic. It's just that there's a lot to do here. It's 7 marks. 7 marks is hefty. Also, why must be? That means you haven't tried it. Okay. So, my advice is that when you have a cone, they are going to want you to do Pythagoras at some point, because there's this beautiful little right angled triangle that gets created when we use a cone. And because of that, generally, one of the questions is going to involve Pythagoras in some way. So when we have a look at this, if we've got that triangle, let's think about what we can do. We know we don't have to find h because h is there. So we don't need to find h right now. We don't need to use pi because pi is something we can use on our calculator. So the only thing we need to know is r. Need this. Okay. So let's try and think about what that would look like if we use Pythagoras. If we use Pythagoras, we would say 13 squared is equal to h squared plus r squared Pythagoras. Would you agree with that? Yes, no, maybe, somewhere in between. Okay. Now, we don't need to know what h squared is. We only need to know what r is. So we're going to isolate r. So we're going to say, okay, cool. Well, that means that r squared is going to be h squared minus 13 squared. Oh, sorry, wrong way around. So r squared is going to be 13 squared minus h squared. So this is what r is. Then we can look at our formula. So our volume of a cone is a third of pi times r squared times height. We don't need height and we don't need pi. So we're going to say, okay, cool. That means it's a third times pi times r squared, which is what we have over here. What can we do from there? Does that help a little bit? Does that get you started at least? Okay. So we're going to multiply that by 13 squared minus h squared, and that is r squared. So that is what we need. We don't need to square that, and we're going to times that by h. So we have 1 over 3 pi times 169 minus h squared, and then all of that is going to be times h. So I'm just going to rearrange this a little bit to make it easier to multiply. So I'm just going to move my h over there because everything's being multiplied. So I'm going to say, cool, that's going to be pi h times 169 minus h squared all over 3. And then I can take this into both terms. So my volume would be pi h 169. Let's write it the same way that they've told us in their one so that we're doing exactly the same. So 169 pi h minus pi h cubed all over 3. And then we are showing that it is exactly like that. So use this to help guide you. But you can't use that information as fact. You're just using it as a guide. So now, for the next part of this question, you know that the slant, so that's S. S stands for slant. You know S is 13. They're telling you that H is 12. We can find R because of Pythagoras. which means now you can find the surface area of the cone. So I want to give you guys a chance to give that a try now. So now that you have this information, see if you can find the surface area of the cone. Give it a try. Don't be scared. They've given you the formula. They've told you that the surface area is pi r squared plus pi r s, and s is your slant. So think about what your grocery list is. Make sure you have all of the values that you need. Let's see. Let's see what people get. Shall we? Just going to zoom out a little bit so that I can write some things on here. So think about your grocery list. Pi is just pi, so we don't need pi. R at the moment is 13 squared minus h squared, and they've told you that h is 12. So r squared is equal to 13 squared minus 12 squared, which means r squared is equal to 25. So r is 5. So now we know what r is. We know that s is 13, and we know that h is 12. And then we can just put it into this formula over here. I don't hate your answer though, Yanda, if it helps. The surface area. Okay, I'm going to give you another minute just to try and finish it off, and then let's try to do it together. But well done for trying. I know that these look scary. That's why we're going to do them, so that they're not scary when you see them in the exams. Okay, so my surface area is going to be pi times 5 squared plus pi times 5 times 13 squared. And that should give you the answer of 282,74. Surface area is going to be a squared, so centimeters squared. Done. Now, another important lesson for this question is if 8.1 threw you for a loop and you didn't know how to start and you were panicking. Oh, sorry, you're absolutely right. I'm being a doofus. Thank you. At least give 8.2 a try. So in these ones, because they've given you a helping hand here, they've told you what H is, then you know you can find R with Pythagoras. And so then at least you can do 8.2. And sometimes in doing that process, then you're like, oh, wait, hold on. I think I can figure out 8.1. So if 8.1 panics as you and you're like, I have no idea where to go, that's okay. Accept it. Be like, that's not great, but it's where I'm at. But see if you can do the next question. And please feel free to take a screenshot if you would like one. Okay. And let's move on to our next one. Okay. A pyramid with a square base with a side length of 16 centimeters is sketched below. P lies on the square base directly below A. So that's why we know it's 90 degrees. They've told us that the volume of the pyramid is 640 centimeters cubed. That's our volume. They've told us the length of the side is 16. And they have given us the volume of a pyramid formula. So we know that the volume of a pyramid is a third A times H. Who can tell me what that A is? Because we can see what the H is. Yeah, good. The area of what? The area of the base. Yes, good. So in these measurement questions, they are going to give you the formula, but you need to know what those words mean. So that A is saying the area of the base. That's what the A stands for. And the H is the height. Again, in this one, Pythagoras often comes into play, just so that you are warned. But for 8.1, they've asked you to show that the perpendicular height of the pyramid AP is 7.5 centimeters. So that is what we are trying to show. And it's only for 2 marks. So generally, if it's 2 marks, it's not going to be something too hectic. I would start by thinking, since they've given you the volume, can we work backwards that way? That's how I would think about it first. Don't worry about 8.2 just yet. Just focus on 8.1 for the start. And let me know when you're happy with 8.1. We can talk through it. I'm not too sure. And it's not normally too long after the video, though. I mean, after the lesson, from what I remember. Shouldn't be too long. Okay, let's have a look at 8.1. So in 8.1, we're trying to show that the perpendicular of the height is something. So that means what this is actually asking us to do is to find h. That's what it's asking us to do. Now let's think about what information they've given us. They've given us the volume. So we know the volume is 640. We know the area is going to be the one side times the other side, and they've told us that it is a square base, which means it's going to be 16 times 16. That's going to give us the area of our base. So our area of our base is going to be 16 times 16. So then if we think about the formula, volume equals a third AH, we only have one unknown, which is H, which means we can figure it out. So 640 is equal to a third times 16 squared times H. So I'm just going to quickly pop this into my calculator. So I'm going to have 640 is equal to 256 over 3 times H. So to find H, I need to divide 640 by 256 over 3. And that's going to give me H. And that gives me 7.5 centimeters, which is what we should get, which means we know we are correct. And now we know that H is 7.5. Okay, so I'm going to help you a little bit for 8.2 before I let you get going with it. They've told us that it's a pyramid with a square base. So if it's a pyramid, this is going to be right in the center. Okay, so if this is in the center of my square, what is the length of PT going to be? Good. PT is going to be 8. Now, if PT is 8 and H is 7.5, then it's easy for us to find, oh, no, highlighter, don't do that. It's easy for us to find that slant because now we can use Pythagoras. So if we take this triangle out, that's what we're looking at. That's our slant. This is our height, which is 7.5. This is 8. Now, the reason that we might want that slant is because if we're trying to find the area of a triangle, the area of a triangle is half base times height. So in our situation, because there's going to be 4 triangles that we're going to add, this is the base of our triangle, and this is the height of our triangle. So we need that slant for the height of our triangle. And we've got 4 triangles. So when we're looking at our surface area here, we've got 4 triangles, and then we've got the 1 square at the bottom. So that is the help that I am giving you. Those are my hints. Let's see if you can try and figure out how to work out those 4 marks. The block is the square. So it's the four areas, the four triangle areas, and then the area of our square, our 16 by 16 square. Okay, let's try and break it up a little bit. So let's start by figuring out our slant height, which is going to be that height of our triangle. Okay. So for our slant height, we're looking at this little triangle over here. I'm just actually, you know what, I'm going to do it over here because then it will be easier to follow, I think. So we know that our slant squared is going to be 8 squared plus 7.5 squared because of Pythagoras, which means our slant is going to be the square root of this, which means it is going to be 10,97. So now we know that this over here is 10,97. And we know that the base is 16. And we know that there are going to be 4 of them. So when we're working out our surface area over here, we've got 4 triangles. So we've got 4 times half base times height. Those are my 4 triangles. Plus the area of my bottom base, which is 16 squared, or 16 times 16. And we can pop that straight into our calculator exactly like that. And we should get 607,04. Now, if you didn't get those exact numbers, if you got something similar to it, it's quite possible that you didn't do 1097. Maybe you used this, or maybe you didn't round it off, and so you got a different answer, and that's okay. So I would say, Uya, you are very close. I would say that that's probably just a decimal situation that happened. Let me know if this doesn't make sense to anyone and if there's something you want to be explained more. I'm happy to do that. Oh, yes, thank you. Don't forget to put down the units. Surface area, so it's going to be centimeters squared. So, yeah, so Uyanda, why am I using the 16 and the 10? Okay, I'm going to just try and get rid of some of these colors to make it a little bit clearer. If I have a look at just this triangle over here, I'm going to do it in yellow. Okay, so that's one of my faces. And I'm going to have 4 identical faces like this, right? That triangle has a base of 16 and it has a perpendicular height, which is our slant. So the height of that face is the same as the slant of our pyramid. So it becomes this situation. Our slant is the 10,97 that we worked out. The 16 is our base. And the area of the triangle is half base times height. There's 4 of them because there are 4 faces. And this one is our square on the bottom. So the slant of the pyramid is the same as the height of the triangle face. Does that make sense? If it doesn't, please let me know. Okay. Take a screenshot if you would like. And then we can move on to the next question. I think, though, based on this lesson, let's maybe spend next week on measurement as well. Yeah. Oh, I thought there was a hand. Okay. Okay. The diagram below shows a water tank, which is made up of a cylinder. So that's my bottom cylinder and a cone at the top. They have an equal radii. So we know that this over here is my radii. So sometimes it helps to like write your little list of things that we know as we're going along. The angle between the perpendicular height AB and the slant height AC of the conical section is 35,5 degrees. They've also told you that this is at 90 degrees. They've told you that the volume of the cone is a third pi r squared h. The total surface area of the cone, they've told you the volume of the cylinder and the total surface area of the cylinder. Okay. For the first part of this question, so just for 8.1, what they would like you to do is to calculate the height AB of the cone. I'm going to draw something for you. Haha, Uya, look at you. I'm saying nothing, Abu. Saying nothing, not a word. See, this is the joy of measurement. I told you, sometimes they bring measurement into weird places. Sometimes they bring it into patterns. Now they're bringing in trig. Yeah, calculus next year, exactly. Trig really is everywhere, for reals. So tan of theta is equal to opposite over adjacent, right? And we're trying to find that adjacent. So tan of 35,5 is equal to 0,5 over the adjacent that we're trying to figure out, which means that the adjacent is equal to 0,5 divided by tan 35,5. So we can just chuck that into our calculator. So we're going to say 0,5 divided by tan 35.5, and that gives us the beautiful answer of 0.7009. And so we can round that off to saying 0,7. So now we know that this is 0,7. So that's for my first 2 marks. Ah, you flipped it around. Okay. For 8.2, so for the next part, they're saying when the tank is full, an electric pump switches on and pumps the water from the tank into an irrigation system at a rate of 0.52 meters squared per hour. The pump automatically switches off when the tank is a quarter full. Calculate how long in hours the pump feeds water into the irrigation system. So we need to think about this before we panic about this question. It kind of is like a physics. I told you, physics steals everything from maths. Physics is maths. For this question, the first thing is it tells us that the pump automatically switches off when the tank is a quarter full. Okay, so right now we care about the tank being a quarter full. So we care about when our volume is a quarter full. So if I was trying to figure out when my volume was a quarter full, it might help me to first know what my volume would be if it was full. So what's my volume if it's full? Then I can find what my volume would be if it's a quarter full. Then I can look at my rate. So first mission, find the volume. Second mission, find a quarter of the volume. Third mission, look at the rate. And I will give you some time. I'm just going to start by doing the volume for those of you who are panicking a little bit. So our volume would be 1/3 times pi times our radius, which they told us is 0,5 squared, times our height, which we've worked out to be 0,7. And if you chuck that all into your calculator, you should get 0,183 meters cubed. So that's step 1. Now you need to think about step 2. So step 2 is finding 1/4 of that volume. And then step 3 is thinking about the rate. Sorry. It's just part 1 of this. This is just our code. Let me know how much time you need, or if you are doing okay, or if you're needing help, if you're panicking. Let me know any of the above. look, I don't hate what you're doing, Abu, if it helps. Oh, Sia. One more minute and then I'll explain it and then I will let you go. I know these questions are tough. There's so many words. Okay, let's have a look. So for the volume of our cylinder, we need pi r squared h. We have pi, we have r, we don't have h. H is the height of our cylinder. So that's this dude over here. We know that this height here from A to B is 0,7. So that means that this height over here is 1,8 minus 0,7, which gives me 1,1. So that means I'm going to have pi times r squared. We know r is 0,5, so 0,5 squared times our height, which is 1,1. We can put that straight into our calculator and we should get 0,86 meters cubed. So now I have the volume of my cone and I have the volume of my cylinder. So that means, I'm going to do this all in the same green while we're doing this color. So this is all for number one. If I take these two pieces of information, that means that my full volume is just those two added together. So 0,183 plus 0,86. That's going to be my full volume. So that's going to give me 1,04 meters cubed. That's my full volume. Next step is step 2, is we need a quarter of that volume. So for step 2, oh, and I'm running out of space. Okay, for step 2, to find a quarter of the volume, we're going to say a quarter of the volume is going to be 1,04 divided by 4. And that gives us 0,26 meters cubed. So now we know a quarter of the volume. So we know how much our volume will be when it's a quarter full. Last thing is we have to take our rate into account. So that's step 3. So step 3, it says when the tank is full, an electric pump switches on and pumps the water from the tank into an irrigation system at a rate of 0.52 meters cubed per hour. They wanting to know if this is going to, when it's a quarter full, it says the pump will automatically switch off when the tank is a quarter full. See ya. You do so many things right. You're being so mean to yourself. So that means what that's saying to us is that if this is a quarter full, all of my water is going to pump out. And when it gets to this point here, which we now know is a volume of 0.26, then it's going to stop, right? So that means we need to know what this volume is here, because that's the volume that gets pumped out. So that's going to tell us how long that's going to take. So that volume of what's going to get pumped out is going to be 1 minus a quarter, which is 3/4, right? Are we happy with that? I'm just going to write it as 3/4. So it's going to be where it's 3/4 full. So all we need to do is say our 0.26 and times that by 3. Are we happy so far? Or are we just sad with life? Last step, all we have to do is we have to work with our rate. And so it's saying per hour. So all we have to do for that is take our 0.178, we divide it. Oh, sorry, not 1. I'm looking at my comma as a 1. 0.78, we divide it by the 0.52, and we get the total of 1.5 hours. And that is the mammoth question finished. I'm going to zoom out so you have the whole question if you want it. It is a very big question, but don't panic. We will do more of these next week. And by the end of next week, you're all going to be loving measurements. And you're going to be like, oh, this is the best section. We're all going to do so well. So don't panic. Don't forget that boot camp starts on Saturday. So I will see some of you there. We're going to get started for your exams. Make sure you all do amazingly well. And then we can get going on patterns and on measurement again next week. But you all did well. It was a hard lesson. I will see you all next week, Tuesday. Have a beautiful weekend. Bye.